Welcome to Wild, Women in Lending Determined to Make an Impact. I'm your host, Robyn LaVassaur. They say our biggest fear isn't being inadequate, it's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Well, welcome back to Wild with Robyn LaVassaur. And if you are watching this on video, you're going to be able to see that, of course, I'm recording on a Friday, and I am wearing my Oregon Duck gear. So if you haven't noticed and you're not a college football fan, man, am I a college football fan. And I love the Oregon Ducks. My daddy loved the Oregon Ducks, as did my grandfather. So I'm a big fan. I'm super passionate about it. Here's what I love about that, and then I'm going to get into today's topic. I love that being a fan of something and really representing it well, no matter what it is in your life, whether it is family or sports or that I have French bulldogs, there is a mnemonic there. So think about that from a sales perspective. And people see things that are Oregon Duck based or the Oregon Ducks rankings. And because I put it out there so, I guess, aggressively or maybe obviously that I love them, I get messages all the time right now of look at those Ducks and saw the rankings, thought of you. There is so much power in putting yourself out in places passionately. So that's just a little tidbit totally outside what I'm about to teach on. And that is really, I called this episode Start at the Beginning. What it really is standing for is that my entire career, I always knew, and everywhere that I teach and coach and talk to people, everyone always knows exactly how many they're closing, possibly even how many they have on deck for the next month. And if you're thinking about this even outside of mortgage, it's really in general, right? What are we about to close? What's our month about to end up at, if you will? Here's what's crazy about that. Everyone tends to know that end number, but rarely do they understand the beginning number. And I will tell you, you only get to the end if you start with the beginning, right? And continuously churn the beginning step. And so there's a saying in lending especially, but I would call it a business statement. And that business statement is that more leads solve all problems, any and all problems. Most businesses either have a lead problem or they have a conversion problem. Now, they might think they have a million other problems, and let's be honest, in lending especially, there are a million other things that can be problematic, but leads ultimately solve it. And I'll give you an example, and I always tell people, like, if you were going to do an exercise at home right now, I would have you pause and write down all of the problems that you encountered in the last week, in the last day, in the last month of your business. And it might be everything from, I had an interest rate shopper, to I miscalculated income, we had a qualifying problem, the borrower got more debt, we had a negotiation problem, we had a low appraisal. There could be a million and one. I think I could name every loan problem on the planet. And here's the thing. While you need to solve those problems, what truly solves the bigger problem is more leads, more leads, more leads. Because if any of those things knock that specific transaction out, off the pipeline, no longer closing, no longer ever using you again, maybe never buying a house again, whatever the circumstances are, more leads is what ultimately fixes that issue. And if you're getting no leads, but you have problems, you've got no future solution. So I'm going to give you a couple steps surrounding leads that are very, very tactical today because I don't think that people understand the value of an actual lead. So let's have a little conversation around that. If you were to get out a calculator, and right now, I'm not sure exactly when this episode will play, but right this minute, we are at the end of October in my world. So whatever month you are in, when you listen to this, I want you to round it either to the last month or the month that you are about to get paid for. And calculate up, estimate it if you're not currently tracking them, which you should be. That's a different episode. All the leads that you've received year to date. And here's what I will tell you. Don't ever count online leads, Zillow leads, what I would call a cold lead versus a warm lead. So a warm lead is referral from somebody with somebody that wants to do anything at any given time, maybe not immediate even, in lending in real estate that you have the potential to be able to help them. That's a lead. So the definition of a lead is incredibly important. Make sure that you understand. A lot of people don't count a lead, they count an application. Different step in the process. So lead is first, application is second. You want to make sure that you're tracking and paying attention to all those leads. So if you, by chance, are receiving, and I'll use some round numbers, let's call it 50 leads a month consistently, 50 warm leads a month, and you're tracking those, you're getting those in the door. And if I were to do some simple math, let me get out my handy dandy calculator for a minute. So let's say that you received 50 leads a month and it's been through 10 full months. So if you get 50 leads every single month and you right now have 500 leads as of the end of October, just an example, and your income, I'll make it super easy, through the end of October was $500,000. Well, if you take $500,000 and that gross income divided by 500 leads, your leads are worth $1,000 a lead. $1,000 a lead without even closing. Now, eventually, not all of them close, but a percentage of them turn into applications, a percentage of them turn into actual qualification, and then a percentage of them turn into an actual transaction and a closed transaction, which in turn gets you paid, correct? So when you think about the actual lead being worth $1,000, and it'll vary, right? Because it's your number year to date, rounded to the end of the month or the end of the last month, divided by the income that you have been paid, that's the value of an actual lead. Here's what's crazy. If you had to take a pause and say, in my business, do I treat a lead, a phone call, a text, an opportunity to follow up, to check in, to pursue, to engage, to convert that lead? Do I treat it like it's worth that amount of money? In most people's business, if we're being honest, the answer is not enough, and maybe dangerously not ever. So how do you treat a lead? Now, here's what's crazy. We'll work incessantly on getting a deal all the way to closing, but we would have so many more chances of closing if we worked as incessantly, as obsessively with the lead up front. But I don't think we affiliate it with a dollar value. And so when you think of, hey, the acquisition of this lead is worth this much money to me, I need to acquire leads. Let me give you some tips and tricks. What I hear consistently from the sales field, and this was one of my biggest issues, I'll prospect, I'll go find leads, I'll work on leads after I work on all my closings, right? After I check email, after I do this, it's no different than waking up in the morning, and I don't know about y'all, but if I say I'm going to work out when I get home instead of first thing, I can tell you there's about an 80% chance I will never get to that workout that day. But if I just bite the bullet and get in the gym first thing, I can always check it off my list that I took care of the workout first. Leads are no different. And if we made a commitment to ourselves and said, hey, I'm not willing to hop onto my email, I'm not even willing to look at it until I've made some prospecting phone calls, until I've engaged and worked on converting, acquiring, receiving the minimum amount of leads that I need to create the ending that I want. So if you were doing 50 leads every single month per se, and you were able to pull credit on at least 80% of those, which means 80% of the total leads that you're getting turn into an application, what you would then create is an approximate 10 to 15, depending on what your closing ratio is, a 10 to 15 closing a month. If you're worse at your follow-up, worse at your conversion, maybe a little less than 10, but on an average, you should be closing around double digits. So 10 units a month, simply getting 50 warm leads. So your goal every single day would be, hey, there's roughly 21-ish days, business days in any given month. That means I need a minimum of 2 leads every single day, really about 2.5. That would be the goal, right? 1.5 if you were doing all calendar days. If you thought to yourself, I can't go take care, I can't go fix any of my other problems till I solve the number one problem in my business. And the number one problem in my business is finding those leads so that I have people to serve, so that I can take care of them. When I ask people why they got into lending, why they're in real estate, they consistently say, I love to help people. I love to solve problems. And yet helping people and solving their problems all starts with a lead. So do yourself and your business a favor and get obsessed about starting at the beginning every single day. And you for sure will hit more endings than you ever have before. If this episode was helpful, I hope you share it, and we will see you on the next Wild.